amazing season for Dayton soccer as we're hanging out in the Hidalgo Lounge. Associate Head Coach Alex Ranalli, as we try and get you a sideline point of view of what took place on this magical run and the Flyers going all the way to the Sweet 16. Coach, was there a time when you really thought that this could be a special season?
Yeah, I think we always knew there was talent in the group. Obviously, the Jacksonville result was a little bit of a wake-up call for everybody. When everything kind of came together in the West Virginia game, I think that was probably the moment where it was like, all right, this isn't just a talented group. This is a group that's capable of putting something special together.
A lot of folks were right there for it and seeing the goals, witnessing the shutouts in the end. But I'm always fascinated to get the coach's perspective. What do you think the best quality was in this Dayton team?
It's a really tough question. It was such a close-knit group. I think, to be completely transparent, we've probably had more talented groups come through here. But I don't think we've ever had a group this tight, this close, this just the care in the locker room, the willingness to put others first, as cliche as it sounds, right? That was huge. There was a ton of talent. There were 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that were capable of scoring goals on any given day, and nobody was worried about who was the one that scored or who was the one that got the assist. Everybody knew that. When we were sharing the ball and moving the ball and pulling teams apart, when the collective success was there, the individual success was going to come. And that was a huge piece, in my opinion.
You've had an amazing journey as a player into a coach. You win a title at Akron. You go to the Sweet 16. You move on to Ohio State as a player. You win a Big Ten championship, Sweet 16. Now, and coaching Dayton at Sweet 16. I know you probably wanting to break through in that Elite Eight, but from those championship experiences as a player and now as a coach, is there one thing that you can sort of go back and say, like, what separates a team and being able to hoist that trophy?
I'm going to sound like a broken record here. It's always the togetherness of the locker room. 3 very different teams that I was fortunate to be a part of that have had this level of success. 3 very different locker room demographics, makeups, whatever you want to say. But the consistent theme has always been the groups were incredibly tight, incredibly close-knit, and Coach Currier talks about it all the time. It's the groups that win the championships that you hear from consistently 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. And I don't know what the exact reason for that is, other than I think the togetherness, the shared closeness, and the bonds allow you to find success in the moment, and then obviously keep you closer together as time passes.
We had a really neat moment in getting to know this group. We were able to sit down and talk with Joseph Meltiquia, Yilti Sigurdsson. These guys, when you look at the Dayton roster, so much international experience and the miles. Melto had a story in that you showed up at his door in Liberia, and that was kind of the moment for him of like, okay, like Dayton really cares. My question is what's the passport like? And then number 2, do you go and try to always make that in-person visit?
Yeah, no, passport's seen some stamps and some visas that certainly otherwise would not have. I think the face-to-face connection is so important, especially when you're recruiting in West Africa and some of these locations that culturally are so different from what we're used to. I think the trust when you meet somebody and see them face to face, and you're able to sit down over a meal or coffee or whatever. That goes a long way, because this is a big decision, and Melto specifically had some professional opportunities. There were agents and all these other third parties trying to sway him in a specific direction. And, I think when I don't want to put words into anybody's mouth here, but when somebody takes the time to travel halfway across the world to a part of the world that isn't maybe frequently traveled, it does go a long way. And then, again, the connection that you can build with somebody when you're sitting across from them, and the way that you're able to elaborate on a project or an opportunity in a way that you can't over text or FaceTime or whatever the case may be. It really helps those guys feel comfortable with the decision that they're taking, even though everybody around them might be saying, hey, go pro, do this, chase the fast money. They can kind of, I think, fall back on that connection that they have with you to make what in the moment might be the more difficult choice, but hopefully in the long term becomes the right choice, right? The education, the competing at a high level, hopefully signing a pro contract and following that pro route, just a little bit delayed.
Well, and Melto shared that educational piece, which I thought was really cool, and sort of the importance of that to him and his family. What's the longest trip that you've taken?
Honestly, probably Liberia. I mean, that's, I want to say it was like a 13-hour flight from Atlanta, if I remember correctly. There's too many trips. I might have gotten some wires crossed somewhere, but yeah, that was a pretty long one.
Amongst all the trips, because one question that I get frequently is folks will ask about that international piece of like communication, but then you watch this Dayton team and everybody's on the same page, and you highlight the togetherness of this squad. Is there sort of a moment of trying to, or are there things that you guys have been able to put in place to where communication, everybody is comfortable and trying to play as a collective unit?
Yeah, it's tough to point to any one specific thing. I think the biggest maybe point that we're trying to make on the front end as a staff, or the most important thing that we're evaluating is somebody's adaptability, and whether or not they can come into this locker room that is going to be so diverse, as you've said, and find a way to assimilate. The reality is college soccer and college athletics aren't going to change for any one individual, right? So if somebody comes in with this preconceived notion of who they are and what they're going to accomplish here and how they're going to go about doing it, it sometimes takes a little while for them to adapt. If we can identify a personality in the recruiting process that's capable of adapting and adjusting and is open to that, that's typically the guy that is going to come in and find success sooner rather than later. So I think our biggest responsibility is to identify those personalities as best we can, right? It's never going to be perfect, but identify those personalities that are capable of adapting and then bring them in. And it's a testament to those individuals that they get into this environment and we kind of try to get out of the way and not mess it up and let them sort things out a little bit and come to terms with what America is about and college soccer is about. And there's always an adaptation period, but I mean, this year we kind of saw the tail end of that process. When it clicks, it clicks.
And it clicked in a big way. And you mentioned environment, and that brings me to my next question of the season. Because from an environment looking outside, what a change from August to where it's smoking out there on the practice pitch to then the last day in November, and it's so cold. And then some of the players that you have on your team, how much fun is it in just sort of like looking at the weather and your practice schedule in the span of just a few months?
Yeah, some of those guys, the West Africans in particular, when they first get here, it's not too bad. It's 95, whatever. This is kind of what I'm used to. I'm used to training in the middle of the day when the sun's out. And by the time we hit late September, you see them, they're bundled up. They got the winter jacket, the hood. They're asking where are the gloves, where are the hats. So just another piece of the adaptation process, as funny as it is, those guys haven't seen snow in their life. They've certainly never trained in snow in their life. So, it's a funny little anecdote, but it is part of the journey for them, is adapt to that and find a way to be successful, even though this is an entirely new environment to them.
So much success, and you want to be playing in late November. You want to be playing in December, and for your group, so many highlights on the year. Is there one that you take away that you hold really, really close?
I think it's probably got to be two. Winning back-to-back A-10 championships, and the recognition that this group achieved because of that. Most years you spend so much time working and suffering, and you sacrifice so much, and there's no guarantee of a reward at the end of it. So that piece was huge. And then being the first team here at the University of Dayton to compete in the third round, the round of 16, that's pretty special.
And to win a game in front of your home fans, and
For sure.
and sort of that moment, and you've been here now for some time. That probably had to mean a lot. And looking up at a packed house, looking in the parking lot, and the folks that weren't able to get in.
Yeah, no, that was phenomenal. The support administratively to get that message out, and then the fans to hear the message and show up the way they did was unbelievable.
And then icing on the cake, 2-0 decision against Michigan. I know you're buzzing. There's so much excitement in what was accomplished here this past year. But looking ahead, because I know you're hard at work. You're going to lose a couple of pieces, but what does sort of the offseason look like for the Dayton Flyers?
Heavy emphasis on recruiting, right? The reality is, as much as, as a staff, we'd like to think that the coaching, the all that stuff is super important. At the end of the day, you can't do anything without top-level players and high character within the group. So we do lose some pretty big contributors, but we've always said we have to trust the recruiting. And the reason we recruit the way we recruit and try to attract the most talented student athletes that we possibly can here at Dayton is so that once one graduates, once one signs a pro contract, the next guy's either already in the locker room, ready to step up, or we can bring that next guy in and just continue to grow and build and adapt.
You mentioned a pro contract, and Dayton's had some terrific success here of late of landing guys at that next level. Did you expect maybe that to be the case for some of the guys that'll be going out the door here?
Yeah, I hope so. You never know until you sign on the dotted line, right? That's the tricky piece of the pro game, is there's always interest in, clubs are maybe trying to obscure their true plan and, be secretive and whatnot. But I know there's a handful of guys in this group, in this graduating class, that are more than capable of competing at the next level and making a long career out of it.
Well, we look forward to that decision. We look forward to another great year of Dayton soccer, but best of luck here for the offseason.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
For more information, anything Dayton Athletics, you can go online, DaytonFlyers.com. Follow us on social media @Dayton Flyers.